So recently, I was just watching some highlights of the recent Los Angeles Lakers Utah Jazz game, and it was the game that was played at Utah. The Jazz smoked them by like 20, 25 points. But the main thing that I was looking at when I was watching this team is how much of a different squad they are with these past 12 games than they were over the past 4 to 5 years with the Mitchell Gobert dynamic duo. And me as a Warriors fan, it's the Dubs, baby, you know what I'm saying. Anyway, I'm always looking at the Western Conference and teams that are contending, and this year is really up for grabs in my opinion. Like, there's really not much to say at this point. It's still early in the game. Like, we barely just eclipsed 10 games, all the teams that have played so far up to this point. But Utah's currently number one. And it's really interesting because everybody, and I'm saying everyone, including myself, had predictions that this team just wasn't going to go anywhere. Like, they got rid of their two biggest assets and their coach left. And everyone thought, like, okay, Utah is one of those teams with Orlando and Detroit that's trying to tank to get Wembanyama. I don't know how to explain his name, but everyone thought that Utah was in the sweepstakes to try and get the number one pick overall next year, the big Frenchman. But everyone's been pretty pleasantly surprised, including myself, on how good they've been playing. And like I said, I just finished watching these highlights of them dismantling the Lakers, and I'm just like, man, this team has really everything you need to be successful, minus the coach, because this guy in here that's there right now, Hardy, is he's pretty unproven to me. I haven't really heard much of him. He might have been an assistant for another team recently, or have been coaching for another squad, or has been elevated. I'm not sure. I'm not really in depth with the coaches and how they kind of rotate and swing around other teams from team to team. But so far, he's been doing a great job with the team. So the coach is relatively unproven, and they don't have a big low post presence. Obviously, they just got rid of Rudy Gobert, and he was holding that anchor over the past few years. But with how basketball is played these days, that's not necessarily a necessity, right, for championship contention. Is to not, like, back in the day, obviously it's good to have a power forward or a center that can really hold the helm down and can be a presence, mainly defensively, not as much offensively, because you have your backcourt and your wings that will do most of the scoring. But you really need to have a good defensive presence in the post. But I'm looking at the stats right here, and it's really early, but the Jazz are 8th, in their defensive rating, 8th in the league, which last time I checked isn't that bad. And obviously, what pops out the most is Utah's potent offense. Jordan Clarkson might be I don't know if it's blasphemy saying this, but he's one of the top 5-10 players in the league when it comes to scoring, just strictly scoring. And I'm not going to get too much into his volume shooting and his shooting splits and his true shooting percentage, but he's burning people up. And to me, it's equivalent, or it's equaling winning games, so far up to this point. And again, just watching these highlights, his confidence is through the roof, like crazy. Just does not care, unconscious. He's going out there and getting buckets, man. Something else that I've been seeing that was been pretty just a significant change from the past when it comes to the offense and the scoring is the production from Lauri Markkanen and Malik Beasley. Just great perimeter shooting. And it's not like in the past, like the core Utah Jazz team we used to know, which was the Joe Ingles, Donovan Mitchell, Royce O'Neal. It's not like they were bad shooters. It's just that the offense was ran differently. The plan was different because you had Donovan Mitchell kind of running the show, and he himself, it seemed like the team was running through him And that kind of limited, I felt, the offense and the things that they can do, and other teams can kind of game plan around them. On top of Rudy Gobert's caveats and him not really being an asset for the offensive side. So it was really easy to game plan against these teams, or against these Utah teams. But now, it's not like Jordan Clarkson is the point guard. Mitchell was a point guard last year, so he did facilitation. Clarkson's out there just to score. And they still have Mike Conley out there, I believe, is like the starting point guard that is really doing the facilitation, and he doesn't need to have the ball in his hands all the time like Donovan Mitchell did. Clarkson's going out there and scoring. Clarkson has experience as a point guard too, so it's not like he can't facilitate, he can't pass, he can't have an offense run through him. He's an asset because you can play off the ball, but he's just out there burning people up. And like I said, when you have someone like that scoring at this rate, because I don't think he's out there shooting 30 shots and then scoring 30 points like LeBron these days, but he looks very, very efficient. And just to add on to the perimeter scoring with Malik Beasley, man, like he was in Minnesota and people were talking about other people, Anthony Edwards and D. Russell, but like Malik Beasley's cold shooter, man, and no one really talked about it. And he's one of the most important pieces on the success on why Utah's doing so well. Kelly Olynyk's a really good formidable player. Like, he's had a lot of experience with different teams in the playoffs, so he's a good presence. Obviously, you got Rudy Gay and, like I mentioned earlier, Mike Conley as their veteran presence. But more than half the team, like 75% of this team's 25 years age and younger. So a lot of young guys that can get up and down the floor. A lot of guys that are out there to prove. Jared Vanderbilt, THT, you know what I'm saying? Colin Sexton, like all these guys have so much to prove, and these guys are playing really, really well. Walker Kessler, this new guy's rookie out of Auburn, North Carolina. Just really, really good pieces. So this is a very successful team, and just I'm really interested to see how they're going to move up going forward. Like, I don't think that they're going to have great playoff chances. Like, I think they can make it to the second round, or the quarters rather, but anything further than that, I think just the experience of other teams will catch up to them, and they're in the Western Conference. It's a dogfight in this conference. They're in the East. They might be able to go further, which is kind of crazy, just by how young and inexperienced this team is, but how much success they're having. But I think they have really, really good pieces and a good culture. I know it's starting off really new, and there's probably not too much pressure and there's not much expectation, but from what I'm seeing, everything looks good. The last part I'm going to touch on is, man, I didn't know they had Danny Ainge. He's their executive. I guess he went to Utah from Boston, but Danny Ainge is a really good GM, really good executive, and with all the picks that they were given from the Rudy Gobert, Minnesota, and then Donovan Mitchell, they got a lot of picks, man. They got a bunch of these first-round picks that they're able to get, man. 3 first rounds in the next draft, 2023. A first round, 3 first rounds in 2025. 1 first round pick 2026, 3 first rounds 2027, 3 first rounds 2029. You know, the 2025, 27, 29, all 2 of those first round picks out of the 3 are from Minnesota and Cleveland unprotected. That's from Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. So they are just given all these picks. I'm not saying it's going to be another Brooklyn Nets 2013 KG, Paul Pierce, and Jason Terry Celtics. I don't think it's going to be that situation where they got the Celtics turn that into Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, but it can happen. You know, if you have someone smart like Danny Ainge and he stays at the helm at Utah, they could do something crazy. They can make something special happen. It's very interesting. When I looked into this situation, I looked into this team a little bit more extensively. I was like, hold on, man. Like, these guys might do something. They're second in the league or points per game. The offensive rating is 3rd in the league. They're first in the Western. They're 9-3 so far. Young pieces, a lot of first-round picks, good minds around them. This team can do something special, man. Keep your eye on the Utah Jazz, man.